I'm Simon Evans, comedian, spiked columnist, and frequent and enthusiastic patron of the Wetherspoons pub chain. I've come to my local Spoons in Brighton to talk to the man himself, Tim Martin, the founder and chairman of this cheap, cheerful and unfairly maligned Great British enterprise. Tim has nearly 900 pubs, and they're not only famously affordable, many of them are nestled in forgotten architectural gems, from old opera houses to former banks. Tim is a one-man architectural salvage operation. He is himself also a bit of a rarity, a hugely successful businessman who's been happy to wade into controversial debates, sharing his views candidly and with good cheer. Here's the man himself. Hello, Tim.
Hello, Simon.
Very nice to meet you.
And you?
Do you come here often?
I try and do a dozen pubs a week. 800 pubs that's 18 months to get around the country. So I haven't been here too recently.
And you travel incognito, you don't get badgered?
Well, apart from my short skirt and high heels. Hi, Ross, how's it going? All right? How's trade been?
So for the sake of viewers who may not have done the necessary research, give us a little bit of a backstory. You've been running pubs for over 40 years now, I think.
John Lennon said that life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. And I was planning to be a lawyer,
right,
but wasn't very good at it. And someone converted a shop into a very small pub in London. And I started having a pint there. Right. And the guy that ran it didn't like it, and I took over his lease when I'd finished my legal study.
I mean, for people, I don't know, who might not be familiar with the brand, there are a few signal characteristics, and the one that grew eventually to us presenting this one is the sort of architectural salvage element. So I'm going to put you on the spot now. 3 flagship pubs of yours, of course, of the 800. If you had to put 3 up there, let's say for their architectural splendour or interest or their historical significance.
One in England, I'd say the Victoria Pavilion in Ramsgate, which is right on the beach.
Right.
Vast pub, gorgeous building.
Yeah.
And if I was to go for one in Wales, it would be the Prince of Wales in the centre of Cardiff, an old theatre on 2 or 3 floors, magnificent buildings. And if I was going to go for Scotland, it would be the Cali Picture House on Lothian Road in Edinburgh, which is a gorgeous old cinema on several floors.
Marvellous.
And if it's in Belfast, we've only got one in Belfast now, so it's going to have to be the Bridge House. And one in Dublin. We don't want to leave Dublin out, or there will be controversy. So we've got Keevan's Port, a gorgeous building recently opened in Camden Street in Dublin.
If you're in Dublin then, you're outside of the United Kingdom, you're in a different jurisdiction, so presumably you could roll into Europe from there, could you?
We looked for sites 20 years ago in France, Lille, Calais and Dunkirk. I got phoned by a journalist from the Guardian, and he said, I can understand Lille and Calais, but why Dunkirk? I said, if it all goes wrong, we can fuck off. and he printed it.
Oh, marvellous.
I didn't think he would.
I think a lot of people are aware that the high street is changing fast. Its unique properties, its monopoly on retail opportunities are all being gouged out by the internet and so on. Pubs are one of those things that can rescue that to some extent.
Yes, I think maybe that's why people have become more aware recently of preservation of old buildings, that the high street is disappeared to some extent into warehouses miles outside town.
One of the other things that people associate with you is extraordinarily affordable beer and food as well. How on earth do you manage to keep prices so low? You don't have like the dirt on the brewers or something?
A lot of people said, but it was never put in writing that Wetherspoon bought short-dated beer, because I think it was sort of an identifiable slur, really. But it's complete cobblers. When you think of it, our lowest priced beer is Ruddles from Green King.
Right.
And we take almost all their production of Ruddles. So it'd be difficult to hang outside the brewery gate waiting for it to go out of date.
I do that outside M&S Food Hall in Paddington sometimes. They've got wires now. The yellow stickers come out at different times.
They banned you from the area.
Further charges are type 1 count of murder, though
There's a lot of hostility towards the brand.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? Is it
Well,
water off a duck's back, or?
it's a minority, really. I think most people, our pubs are the busiest pubs of any pub company. Sorry for boasting.
Oh.
And so we do a hell of a trade. And most people like us. Some people don't. And in the UK, we've had the divisive issue of Brexit.
Yeah.
And I stuck my nose over the parapet, having stayed out of politics for before that, certainly stayed out of party politics. And I think that created a bit of hostility in some quarters. But most people, even if they didn't have the same view as me, were pretty decent about it and said, well, you know, the nation was asked to look at this issue. Yeah. We all had a view, and fair enough if you had one too.
But you don't regret giving your view on that, then?
No, I don't. I do. If I've got one belief, it's that democracy, for all its faults, is essential for the future of the world. But when you're in it, it seems very chaotic.
Yes.
But I think that's a price worth paying.
I mean, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but do you feel then that Wetherspoons has a role to play in the democratisation or maintaining it? Pubs, some people would say, is where the community comes and sees itself.
I mean, I think you could wildly overplay anything political when people have had 3 pints of Abbott in the evening. But I mean, coming out Wetherspoon is a product of a democracy.
There is a tradition, though. I sometimes get a bit misty-eyed about it. I remember me and my mate Ross used to go to a pub called the Rat's Castle, which was near our school in St Albans. And that's where we first learned to drink, basically 16, 17 years old, you know, always pushing at the edge a little bit.
You may still find the long arm of the law reaching out to you if you make that admission.
Statute of limitations, I remember very clearly specific individuals that we drank with who were road sweepers and builders and older men from slightly different social tiers or trades or whatever that our fathers worked in. I think there is kind of a valuable role to be played by pubs.
I think pubs are the great British melting pot.
Yeah.
Probably churches played that role to a degree in the background, but no one goes to church anymore.
Well, do you feel there's any snobbery about Wetherspoons?
Maybe. I think there's two different types of pubs in a way. One is the melting pot that appeals to everyone. Lots of people you wouldn't normally see in your daily life, and you get a chance to shoot the breeze with them, and that's a very nice thing to happen. There are other people who prefer to meet with other people like me, you know, another whatever little group they're in. Do you mind if I grab a tea while I talk?
That's been stewing for a good 10 minutes now.
Yeah, I like strong tea. Yeah. So, you know, I'm a butch type of guy. Camera people here disagreeing with my view of myself.
Effete metropolitan liberally, they've all got their
understand
ice
this type of stuff.
Do you drink in your own pubs as well, or is that difficult? Getting high in your own supply?
I do a big tour of pubs on one day a week and the next day. So normally, in the last pub, I'll have a couple of pints, glass of wine, something to eat. And
because I would assume it's a little bit like, I always picture like Downton Abbey with the butler and the housemaid when you arrive at the pub. Do they know you're coming? Do they get everyone spruced up and ready?
Well, this is unusual today because you were filming, so people knew in advance, but I never announce where I'm going in advance.
Well, what is the future? Do you have any kind of ambitions unfulfilled?
I'm coming up 70, so I'm trying to find a way of preserving it for the future. I think you start off working for yourself, but we've got 40,000 people who work for us now. It's trying to preserve the ethos, which you described, the DNA of the business. Not a tricky thing to do. Tricky thing to do, but I'm going to try.
What about the pub trade more widely? Do you have any views on how that might evolve? I mean, they've weathered again some significant storms in recent years.
If the country wants pubs to succeed and for it to have a vibrant hospitality sector, pubs and restaurants will need tax equality with supermarkets. At the moment, without going into the details, pubs are taxed a lot more keeping the prices relatively high versus supermarkets.
Yeah.
And I think the sensible thing would be to treat both businesses the same.
Do you think it's important that pub culture continue to thrive in Britain?
I think it's a vital part of social life, a vital part of human contact.
Yeah.
It can't all be done online. So yeah, it'd be a terribly dull existence if there were no pubs. I remember when I first came to England when I was 18, staying in a town, Wokingham in Berkshire, didn't know anyone, but by going to the pub as an 18-year-old, met quite a lot of the old reprobates.
Yeah.
Even met, you know, a gal or two. So how would that happen if you didn't have a pub?
Well, I seriously hope that Spoons goes on to greater glories, and I look forward to enjoying a pint on the beach at Dunkirk in the very near future.
I'm your man.